Yeah. Welcome to the Social Millennial Podcast. We out here. New York's been going through a wild week full of news, week full of occurrences. The world is going through some wild stuff. Countries are opening up, countries are closing down, states are opening up, states are closing down. Schools, hot topic, up for debate whether they're going to open or not. Some places had already opened, like Mississippi, I think. And this one school had like 116 quarantines, 116 cases. It's pretty wild. Pretty wild. We're gonna see what definitely lies ahead come September here in NYC. I know that, or I feel like the infrastructure isn't really there for remote learning for all children, and then all children are not built for remote learning. Some children need the classroom. Some children need the tactile, just that interaction with their friends in the room. Some children need the regimented discipline of being outside of their house or somewhere else or in a different environment in order to absorb what they're being taught. You know? The sights, the sounds, the smells. Some children need that. So this is going to be very interesting. And then business-wise, a lot of businesses closing down. Fordham Road, a lot of them are starting to get boarded up. Fordham Road here in the Bronx, very popular shopping sort of road avenue. It's been around for such a long time as a hub in the Bronx for shopping and commerce. A lot of stores closing down. Places that have been there for a while closing down. Places that just opened, already announcing that they're closing. This is going to be interesting coming out of COVID, what the business model is going to look like in general for many fields, or I should say many sectors. How that's going to work, whether COVID is just going to disappear, like swine flu and SARS, or whether it's just going to stay around and just haunt us. It's going to be so interesting. We really don't know what's going to happen. I like those memes that depict 2020 like Jumanji. Like, okay, who rolled a 6? So we're gonna see what's gonna go down. I'm very glad that our death rate has gone down in NYC. We had that 3-day stint where we had no deaths from COVID. It's pretty fire. Dudes is out here still walking around like no COVID exists. So that's a thing, which is very interesting. I like that stores and shopping are really sticking with masks at all times. Like they're not just, okay, do whatever you want. Oftentimes, at least I can speak for the BX. Oftentimes there are many laws in place that don't really get enforced. So I'm glad that most people that I've seen are abiding by, at least wearing the masks inside of the stores, which is cool, and clearly doing its thing, because our cases had gone down drastically and our death rate has gone down, which is fire. But anyway, I digress. Let's get into a little bit of news. I might be a little brief with y'all today, but a little bit of news. We've got AMC is going to start to open up their movie theaters again. I don't know how this is going to work. Like, are we getting individual seat partitions? What's happening? I'm sure there's going to be sanitizing stations and hand sanitizer all over the place. I'm sure there's probably going to be capacity restrictions and limitations at these movie theaters. I don't see it going super well, but I don't know all things. It could go well. Who knows? They could have put their heads together with a whole lot of different people, a whole lot of brilliant minds to come up with ways to at least have everyone who goes to the movies feel a bit more safer to go to the movies and not feel necessarily like they're being exposed to deadly diseases. But AMC announced that they will be reopening theaters. That's going to be August 20th. It's going to be 100 theaters across the United States. August 20th, they're going to be opening it up, according to CNN Business. And to commemorate which anniversary is it? It's a centennial for AMC. So to commemorate it, they're offering movies at these theaters, 100 theaters across the United States that will be opening. They're offering 1920s prices in 2020, which means 15 cents per ticket. That is crazy. Talk about how inflation works and monetary systems work. In the 1920s, going to see a movie at a movie theater was 15 cents. And back then, that was a thing because people got paid in pennies or what have you. That is wild. And talking about inflation and just prices of everything going up, just today, I went to the pizzeria down on 161, not the 99 cents one. We just got a 99 cents. We just got a $1 pizza spot on 161. But Suma, and man, a slice with pepperonis, $4. Are you kidding me? I remember back when I was younger, because I'm still young, but back when I was younger, slices being $1.50, $1.75 with toppings. Wild how things have just progressed and changed. It's so interesting. But yeah, they're going to be opening their theaters August 20th. Not all of them, because I think they've got like 500 or something like that. 600 theaters across the United States. That's all of their theaters. They're not opening all of them, just 100 of them on August 20th. And then they sort of have a rollout plan to start opening up more and more of them. When they do open them up, I believe they're trying to have their theaters open by September 3rd when Tenet drops, Christopher Nolan's newest film, which looks like it's going to be super flames. They're hoping that everywhere is open, but they're going to roll out, and then it's going to really be up to the states and local officials as to whether, they can open movie theaters in each state, but they're hoping to be opened up by September 3rd. We'll see what happens, considering, second wave fears and so on and so forth. When which is after August 20th, opening day September 3rd, presumably, they'll still be offering discounted tickets to films that are old, because entertainment industry shut down. 95% of it shut down. So productions, if a film was in the middle of production, done. Done. If enough films or shows were still filming, done. Some will not come back. Some will not be completed. Others will be completed. But because production shut down, not just slowed, just completely stopped, a lot of films were not able to drop this summer. Some of them that were finished were still able to be released on like Apple TV, Netflix, and so on. Like I believe there's a Tom Hanks film that's dropping on Apple TV soon. I forget the name of it, but because the movie cycle has been kind of dry, they're going to be showing. It's a movie theater. They're going to be showing older films like the Black Panther. I said the Black Panther. It's Black Panther, bruh. Inception, Back to the Future, Empire Strikes Back. All of the greatest hits. Those tickets will cost $5, which I think is pretty fire. I remember there being a really cool discount theater in Parkchester in the Bronx. I don't think it exists anymore. American, I think it was called, the American Theater. It wasn't that great, wasn't super clean, but the tickets were super discounted. The screens were kind of small. It was funky. It was janky. It was dank. But if you wanted a quick film and the quick movie going experience, you went there. I don't think it's open anymore though. I think it closed down. But tickets will be $5, presumably, hopefully, if they get to open September 3rd, in your state, wherever you're listening to this podcast. But yeah, so we're gonna see what's gonna happen here, because they're really trying to make this work. We're gonna see 100%, because a closure like this, and the way we've been quarantined, and entertainment industry going dark, essentially almost completely going dark, no films coming down the pike, no money being generated for AMC or for Regal, it's tough. Super duper tough. So yeah, we'll see what happens with that. That's a developing story. Next we've got Nick Cannon, my guy Nick Cannon, who said what he said. I'm sure by now all of y'all already know what the story is, what's been happening. It's been all over the place, covered everywhere, multiple times. But the plot thickens. Nick Cannon is suing Viacom. He's seeking $1.5 billion for the value of Wildin' Out. Wildin' Out, Nick Cannon created it. I believe he produced it with his production company for Viacom. But Viacom is not handing it over to him, handing the show over to him. The name, the rights, the trademark, etc. They are not handing it over. Now, this is an interesting little wrinkle. Personally, I had hoped that he would just leave it alone and go create something that's fire. But we're gonna see what happens. I don't know the nature of the contract that he signed with Viacom when he was under Viacom and he created Wildin' Out, and they kept Wildin' Out going for so many seasons. It's unfortunate that all of those rising stars and already brightly shining stars on that show, or that have gone through that show, that program, have to be necessarily out of work. I know of a few individuals who were going to be debuting on the new season of Wildin' Out, and it's just in a day done. No job, no work. I don't know the nature, as I said, I don't know the nature of the contract that Nick signed. I hope that it gives a provision for him to be able to get Wildin' Out back. In a perfect world, I hope he gets it back. I hope that he gets the rights. I hope that he keeps it going, because then he could take Wildin' Out and shop it to Netflix or to Hulu, or to Amazon or to Apple TV or to even HBO Max, which is starving for content right now. Shop it to them and just make it a show. He has the ability to. It's a show that it's a show that draws. It's cool. It's interesting. It's fun. It's spontaneous. I just hope he had that provision in his contract, and that he and his lawyers can fight this, because usually, if you're creating something under a larger corporate entity, the corporate entity usually owns that, unless you negotiated for that in the contract, to have not just the creative freedom to build something from the ground up, but also to have a partial stake or complete ownership of that property, to where whatever you create, you're essentially leasing it to that corporation. So when you're not there anymore, you can continue it. You may not be able to use the back catalog of whatever you created, whether it was a show or something. You might not be able to sort of just have the rights to shop it and put it wherever you want to put it, but you get to keep. If you negotiated it, you would get to keep the rights to do what you want with it moving forward. So hopefully he negotiated that there. It seems like he didn't, because Viacom came out and said that we're keeping it. Like, that's not, it's our product. So it's just, Nick Cannon is in a rock and a hard place. In my opinion, he is between a rock and a hard place. Either you just drop it, let it go and move on, or you try to get your baby back that you slaved over many years, because Wildin' Out evolved and evolved and evolved and evolved into what it is now. But we'll see. We will see. Because Viacom, according to the source, Viacom announced that they would be taking ownership of the show after Cannon was fired. Of course, after his controversial comments were made in an interview with former Public Enemy member Professor Griff. Cannon's team put out a statement. Quote, "It's just that simple. Wild 'N Out belongs to Nick. The show was created by Nick Cannon with his idea and original thought. Wild 'N Out has brought billions of dollars in revenue to Viacom since 2015, and Nick deserves and has earned everything it is worth." I don't necessarily know about all of that. Once again, that would have to do with what the contract that he signed. He signed on the dotted line when he got in bed with Viacom. So we'll see what ends up happening. It's strange to me because I feel like Viacom would not necessarily come out and just brazenly and blatantly say something that they felt they were going to end up paying for later. They've got to. I assume Viacom is a hugely wealthy corporation. I assume that they can employ an entire team of lawyers and keep them on retainer, the best of the best. So they kind of know what they're putting out and what they're talking about. I want to believe. I don't really know what it is behind closed doors. Once again, you put out statements, people do and say things, but you never really know what happens, at least regarding this, until you see the contract. So you can get the copy of the contract in front of you, or when it gets revealed that Nick Cannon signed it, that anything that he creates under Viacom is the property of Viacom. That's usually a standard contract with a large entity like that. But we'll see what happens. We'll see. This also is a developing story. I'm in my heart of hearts, I hope that he wins this case. Viacom, is a $1 billion corporation, $1 trillion corporation. I don't think they need Wild 'N Out. Quite frankly, I think the stiffs at Viacom would own Wild 'N Out and shelve it and not do anything with it. Maybe play syndication, run it in syndication, but then not have Nick Cannon make any of the proceeds for that syndication. I don't know. I just feel like Viacom's not. I feel like Viacom doesn't have anything to do with Wild 'N Out without Nick Cannon attached to the brand. To me, it doesn't make sense from a business standpoint. Who else are you going to put the Chris Tucker on Wild 'N Out to host Wild 'N Out? It's just not the same. It is just not the same. And then last story that I'm going to cover has to do with a beloved series of mine, a series that I was extremely excited about, stoked, elated, in complete jubilation over. I believe I alluded to it in one of the past podcasts. Go back and backtrack to one of the past podcasts, one of the past episodes. I spoke on Avatar: The Last Airbender, the cartoon, getting a Netflix live action adaptation, and the showrunners were ostensibly, not were going to be, they were the creators of Avatar: The Last Airbender, the cartoon show, which is its original format. They created the lore, the characters, everything, the world from the ground up from these two dudes. And it is now, with great sadness, that yesterday they announced, the two creators, Mr. Michael Dante DiMartino and Mr. Brian Konietzko, they announced that they were departing the live action series, that they were leaving. And it seems like the classic case of creative differences. They understood when they were asked or approached or talked to by Netflix to create a live action adaptation, that it seems as though they were assured that they would function as executive producers and they would be the showrunners, that Netflix was going to allow them to execute what their vision was for this show as the creators of this IP. And it's been 2 years in development. Since 2018 is when they first got on. They've been in pre-production and development for 2 years. And both of them just peaced out on the live action adaptation. Super, super sad. They both dropped statements on their own. Super heartfelt, super understanding. It seems like they didn't harbor any ill will against Netflix. What? They didn't harbor any ill will against Netflix and the powers that be. Productions are what productions are. But they assured their fans and the fans of Avatar that when they see the show, when the show finally does get put out, it is not going to be it's not their vision that's reflected in this adaptation. No, they made sure to give props where props is due. You know, they were like, well, it could be good. It could come out and be great and something that the Avatar fan base could enjoy. But rest assured, it is not the original vision that the creators of the show in its original medium intended it to be. Because Netflix didn't scrap the project. So when the creators / showrunners / executive producers bounced, they kept chugging with the show. They're still going. They said it's not killed. This project is not 86th. They're going to continue going with the same production company, etc., and put it out. So I'm pretty sad because Avatar: The Last Airbender got done dirty as an IP by M. Night Shyamalan. He created a film, an Avatar: The Last Airbender film that was almost unwatchable. Just trash. Triggity trash. All the way. Like it made me wonder if M. Night even watched the show to know what the show was about, why it was great, why it was so well received, why it won so many awards. It won mad awards. I didn't even realize until recently that cartoon show won a Primetime Emmy, mad awards. And rightfully so. I believe I recommended Avatar: The Last Airbender because it should still be on Netflix now because they're generating buzz for the live action adaptation that will probably be dropping in late 2021. I assume late 2021, early 2022, like spring. I recommended the cartoon. Yes, it's a cartoon. Adults, you will love it. So rightfully so that it got all the awards and the acclaim that it needed to get and built the fan base, a rabid fan base of individuals who grew up on the show and still hold the lore of that show near and dear and those characters. M. Night Shyamalan did it dirty, all the way dirty. In every single way imaginable, he did these characters dirty and this lore and this world dirty. He did not consult the creators. He did not bring the creators in during the writing process just for them, look over it, make sure that this is something that has your blessing. Nothing, absolutely no respect placed to these guys. And again, now, no respect placed to these guys. It's wild. And Netflix, super smug, their statement about it, oh my gosh, I cannot believe this. Still, the disrespect, the just complete disrespect. Netflix goes, where's this quote? Quote, we have complete respect and admiration for Michael and Brian and the story that they created in the Avatar animated series. Then, quote, although they have chosen to depart the live action project, we are confident in the creative team and their adaptation. I'm like, why would you even say even though they chose to depart? That's that corporate speak. Corporate speak. That was so disrespectful to say something like that. So disrespectful. Jeez, man. And the thing is that Avatar: The Last Airbender, that whole world, because there's Avatar: The Last Airbender, there's a comic book series that continues it after the cartoon finishes, and then there's another show, and it's sort of like a generations thing where we're now in the future, like through the comics it progresses, everybody grows up, Everybody does their thing, and then we get the next Avatar. Aang dies, and we get the next Avatar, and that's The Legend of Korra. Avatar: The Last Airbender, like Star Wars, or like newly minted The Witcher, or like Game of Thrones, is an intellectual property that could pretty much print money for Netflix. Print money. And I feel like Netflix is gonna screw the pooch. They're gonna shit the bed, for lack of a better term. The way that Disney screwed the pooch with Kathleen Kennedy and Lucasfilm. The way that Game of Thrones and Colin Trevorrow? No, that was not Colin Trevorrow. How their writers screwed the pooch, and essentially in like 2 episodes or one shortened season, destroyed all of the goodwill that they had created over all of the past seasons of Game of Thrones. Screwed the pooch. Witcher hasn't screwed the pooch yet, knock on wood or whatever. Because that show, that series was fire. But this could have been Netflix's Game of Thrones. That's how deep that this lore is for Avatar: The Last Airbender, and it seems like a children's cartoon. The lore is deep. There's so many places that you can go. It touches on so many subjects. It's just an amazing IP, and I fear they're gonna screw the pooch. I'm gonna still watch it, but man, it's just sad. It's just sad. Two stories, about creating and creative integrity, and on the one hand with both, making sure that you maintain control and retain control and creative control over the things that you think up, over your ideas and your thoughts, over your created things. Don't sign them away. Don't sign your mind away to corporations or to other people. Create. Do you hustle? You got the gene. Let's make it happen. Now, what I want to talk about very, very briefly, something that was revealed to me this week. We've talked about the haters. We've talked about the jar. We've talked about when we sort of get down on ourselves. I'm going to shift a little bit here. I've been noticing, maybe it's an effect of the quarantine, COVID-19, and sort of causing us to retreat into ourselves. Maybe it's a product of the recent police brutality that's being highlighted in the media. Or maybe it's something else that's caused us to not only look inward as a people, as Americans, into what we believe and what we hold true, to what side we want to pick or what ideology we fit with or what box we fall into, but has also caused us to be emboldened to soldier the cause of those ideas and ideologies and so on. I've come to understand that a lot of what's been happening is is revealing something about people. Now, many will say, oh yeah, Trump is revealing the racists, or they're being exposed, and the bigots and so on. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about something deeper, much, much deeper. Ignorance. What's going on now and what's been happening, and the opinions that have formed, the understanding, quote unquote, understandings that are formed based off of what's happening, what the media is saying, what the facts actually are, what others are saying. Seem to be being absorbed by certain individuals in a way that is not healthy. And that way of absorbing was within these people from before any of these things happened, from before Trump. And I think now that people are expressing themselves a lot more about what side that they take, whether it's, masks, no masks, or Republican, Democrat, Libertarian, or other, or social Democrat, or social, whatever it is, left, right, up, down, moderate, central, it doesn't matter, left of center, far left, far right. As people start to voice what's inside of them, we're seeing the ignorance. We're experiencing the ignorance. I have been flabbergasted on multiple occasions since the beginning of all of this at the ignorance, where we're deciding on what we believe based on things that we did not investigate, or things that we do not fully understand, or based off of a headline that we saw from somewhere that just happens to align with what we might feel, or happens to align with a mode of thinking that makes things easy for us to digest, instead of reading the article, or instead of researching, or instead of truly understanding what this subject is and what's happening here. There are a lot among us who just, okay. Whether it's CNN, whether it's Fox News, it doesn't matter. We go, okay. Not we, but there are people around us that go, okay. And then we'll proceed to defend positions based on headlines, based on sound bites with no context, based on misappropriated informations, misappropriated data, misinterpreted data, misrepresented data. It's so interesting. And it doesn't even, it doesn't even. I've seen instances where sort of debates, I guess, or for lack of a better term, fact checking has existed. Offering points of clarity to certain subjects, sort of to show the nuances of that subject, and that necessarily holding to a hard, fast position on it is not something that's necessarily the most beneficial. And I've noticed those kinds of exchanges resulting in let's agree to disagree, or I live a different life than you do, so it's different for me, or I see it differently, applied to very fundamental problems in communication, problems with morality, problems with personal ethics. It's interesting. I've witnessed individuals speaking to each other and contradicting themselves. So one person completely contradicting themselves almost every other sentence. And then when called out on it, when like, yo, listen, this doesn't match up with this. This doesn't, when you say this, it's the opposite of this. That person chalking it up to that person getting defensive, defending the fact that they're contradicting themselves as if they aren't, and then wants to fire back like, oh, well, you're that, or you're this, or you're. I've just been dumbfounded, jaw dropped. And I want to think, not that I want to think, but one could surmise, oh, well, the education system in America is not that great, and it's being revealed now in how there are so many people who are like this. I don't think that's the case, or I don't think that that's the only thing that's contributing to it, or that brought it, or that created it. I believe it's a lack of love. It's a lack of compassion. It stems from a difference in the way that one interacts with the world around them than with others who choose to be under or interact with the world in a more understanding fashion. Because we could be opposed ideologically. We could be opposed. We could hold two different positions on something. Speak with each other about it and still hold on to our positions and not necessarily have convinced each other of anything. But within that conversation, how one conducts themselves, their conduct will show whether they interact with the world in a more or not in an understanding fashion, or from a place of understanding. I get why you think that. Oh, okay, now I understand what that means. Doesn't mean you have to agree with everyone. Doesn't mean that you have to placate everyone. You're not trying to stroke someone's ego. It's a desire to connect with the world around you and to try your utmost to not allow certain things or certain ideas or ideals or ideologies or certain levels of understanding cut you off from adequately connecting with your world. So, for example, maybe I may be a Republican. I may have a friend that is a Democrat. We're friends. I should not let my quote unquote republicanism, quote unquote conservatism, hinder me from connecting with my friend, understanding where they are in their thought process, understanding why they understand what they understand, why they think what they think, and being able to speak with them, being able to rationalize their understanding of what's happening to the world or whatever the subject is, even if it's like, what's the best kind of milk, you know? It's not up to me to bulldoze that person, or it's not up to me to try to insinuate something that doesn't exist about that person, to stroke my own ego. It's not up to me. It's not for me to do. It's not what I should be doing. So what I'll say is this. In closing, right? Quote unquote. This sort of tidbit. Love. Love. Love the world around you. It's difficult. It's hard to do. It's not easy. There are so many things not to love. There are so many reasons to disengage, especially these days. So many reasons to disengage from the world. Man, I think I need some water. So many different reasons that one could come up with that are valid and understandable to disengage from the world. But when you are able to open up those pathways to connect with your world, to connect with people, regardless of their quote unquote, regardless of their skin color, regardless of their sexuality, regardless of their race, regardless of their ideology, regardless of their religion, you will find that you're able to get more out of life. You're able to wring more out of the wet, damp, dank shirt that is life. You're able to dig deeper. You're able to identify with someone at a deep level when you decide to love. Because deciding to love comes with that installed compassion, installed understanding, installed patience, installed kindness. Just do it. I might sound like a broken record, but this love thing, there's something to it. There's something to it. And it's not easy to do, but nothing that is worth anything is easy to get. Let that sink in. Let that sizzle in your spirit, in the words of the amazing comedian Country Wayne. Let that sizzle in your spirit. Next time you see someone who you know is being ignorant, who you know in the face of information that should cause them to move their position from where it is presently, they willingly decide, knowingly and willingly decide to not pay attention to that information because their ideology means more to them than the truth. Even when you encounter those people, love, understand them. Function from a place of understanding. Many doors will open for you. Many, many, many. Many eyes will open. Many hearts will open. Many minds will open. And many doors in this life will open for you. With different sectors opening up now, it's imperative. This is a nice little reset point for the world. It's like a soft reboot. We can either keep living the same way that we've been living after we've come out of this quarantine and we're now in phase 4 and there are no more phases left, or we could learn something from our quarantine and love more. Each one can reach one to change the face of various societies of the world. And not necessarily change it to some kind of socialist thing or some kind of utopia or some kind of perfect place, because it will never be a perfect place. But your life is your life. Your life is not someone else's. So enjoy it, love it, and love others. All right, so recommendations for this week. Let's see what I got. Let's see what I got here in the Rolodex. You know. That was my very, very trash, my wild trash attempt at flipping pages of a Rolodex. Oh, Todrick Hall. Todrick Hall. I recently revisited Straight Out of Oz, and for those who have not seen it / heard it, y'all should do it. It's pretty cool. Todrick did this album. He made an album, and it's talking about his life, him, growing up, going through various stages in his life and in his career, his entertainment career developing. I'm not going to tell you what the end is. I'm not going to tell you any more necessarily details about the story, but it is an amazingly produced album, amazingly written, and he created a visual album for it. So it plays out like a movie. I believe it's an hour long, with all of the songs in there. It plays out like a movie. It's pretty cool, and it's in the framework and in the theming of The Wizard of Oz. 100% check it out. Super entertaining. I thought it was super fire when it did come out. This was a few years ago when it did come out, and he toured the album. He turned it into a stage show, like a Broadway style musical, which is pretty cool. So yeah, go check that out. It's on YouTube for free. Type in Straight Out of Oz. Now, I've got to give the disclaimer. If you're, weirded out, creeped out by the LGBTQ community, then this might not be for you, or it might be for you. Remember, love, understanding. That's what we're talking about in this podcast. Okay? So maybe you want to exercise. Maybe you want to stretch out a little bit. Some of his other content might be a little too extreme for you. You might need to just dip your toes in. This is a great way to do it. Straight Out of Oz is pretty fire. Super interesting, really, to dig into the story of Todrick Hall and how he came up and what he was going through as a young person throughout the 90s and so on. So definitely check it out. If you love music, if you love dancing, if you love really fire visuals, if you just love creativity and someone essentially saying, I'm going to do this on my own, and just going out and doing it. If you love that, give it a listen. Straight Out of Oz, type it into YouTube. You can watch it for free. It's Todrick Hall. Check it out. All right. So y'all, if y'all want to submit any questions for the podcast, please, we are on Twitter now, at Millennial Social. Check it out, where we are on Twitter. Finally, 17, 18 episodes in. Finally, I know I've been saying it for a minute. We are on Twitter now. So if y'all want to check it out, follow. I throw some wild memes up on there, wild NYC memes, COVID memes. Check it out. Some musings, some pop culture musings. Check it out. If y'all have any questions, if y'all want us to cover anything specific during the week on the podcast, retweet something to us. Let us know. Send us a question. Send us a message. If you want to email us, It's the Social Millennial Podcast at gmail.com. If you want to catch up with us on YouTube, type it in, The Social Millennial. We're on YouTube. We're on Apple Podcasts. We're on Spotify. We're on radio.com. We're on Stitcher. We're on Google Podcasts. Check us out. Throw us on the RSS feed. We've got a homepage. All right. Check us out on Facebook and on Instagram at Social Millennial Pod. Follow, like, share, subscribe. Y'all know what to do. But yeah, get to us. Comment, like, check mark, thumbs up. Let us know. And if you don't like this commentary, if you don't like some of the notions being expressed, let us know that too. All of this is really to start a conversation within yourself and outwardly. Most certainly, let us know. If you love it, if you hate it, let us know. All right, so y'all have a great week. Stay up. Keep wearing your masks, okay? Keep protecting yourselves, all right? Keep protecting others and loving others and respecting their space and their boundaries, because they may do things a little different than you. They may be a little different than you are. Understanding, love, compassion, okay? Identify with them. We are the human race, okay? We are humans. We are people. One people. Bill Nye illustrated it best. We are one people, y'all. So, yeah, we only get this one life, and we are one people. One thing, singular things, not multiple things. All right, y'all. Stay up, stay safe, stay cool. Keep working at them jobs, working from home, hustle. For those who don't have jobs, don't worry. It's going to come. I know the stimulus stuff is not even happening, and then Congress just chilled out, just adjourned until September, which is wild. Everybody's struggling. It's still wild joblessness. Y'all, we're going to make it. NYC, we're going to make it. We've made it through worse. We've made it through blackouts. We made it through 9/11. They didn't think we was going to do it, but we made it. We did it. We out here. All right? All right. So y'all have a great week. Be blessed. Okay? Gang NYC. Peace.
Walking through my city, so many people passing me by, but nobody seems to know why. Street lights saying stop and go, cars zipping past me to and fro. Does anybody know now? Oh, how time is slipping. 'Cause under the surface of the push and shove is New York City. The hustle and bustle of this town I love, that's New York City. Could there be a future here? Oh, so many people giving their sweat and tears. Does someone know the way? I'm sick of taking it day by day. Oh, 'cause under the surface of the push and shove is New York City. The hustle and bustle of this town I love. Under the Broadway lights, performers working day and night, filming for the TV screen, the movie house, and in between. Heights are heights and zoo to zoo, magic that you always knew. Stadium sounds the love about in the patter of little feet. Looking out for our fellow man, lending a helping hand, that's New York City. Coming together and taking a stand, that's New York City. 'Cause under the surface of the push and shove is New York City. Looking out for our fellow man, lending a helping hand, That's New York City. Coming together and taking a stand. It's New York City. The hustle and bustle of this town I love is New York City. That's New York City. That's New York City. That's New York City.